The day the invitation arrived, I almost didn't open it. It came in a pearl-white envelope, elegant script on the front, no return address. Something in my chest sank before I even broke the seal. Inside was a wedding invitation. The names printed in gold foil made my heart stop: James Carter and Isabel Grace. Isabel. My sister. 5 years ago, James was mine. We were engaged. The wedding date had already been set. I had the dress. The venue. The dreams. And then, without warning, he ended things. No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone. A month later, I found out why. He had left me for Isabel. The betrayal shattered me. Not just because of James, but because Isabel was the one person I thought would always be on my side. We were sisters, practically twins in spirit. We shared secrets, laughs, clothes, and apparently, the man I thought I'd spend forever with. I moved away after that. Started over in a small town where no one knew me as the girl whose sister stole her fiancé. I built a new life, slow and quiet. I never stopped wondering, though, what I would do if I ever saw them again. And now, here it was. Their wedding day, right in front of me, printed in shimmering gold. I sat with the card in my hands for a long time. Part of me wanted to throw it away, bury it in a drawer like the past I never unpacked. But something made me pause. Was it curiosity? Closure? Or something deeper, something I hadn't dared to feel in years, the need to forgive? I put the invitation down. I didn't know yet if I would go. But for the first time in 5 years, I let myself cry for the girl I used to be. Not in anger. Not in bitterness. Just in grief. And maybe, somewhere underneath that grief, was the beginning of healing. Coming back to the city felt like rewinding time. Every street corner held memories I hadn't asked for. The cafe where James first told me he loved me. The bookstore where Isabel and I used to spend hours, curled in corners, trading dreams. The wedding was at the old cathedral downtown, a place I once considered for my own ceremony. Life has a cruel sense of humor. I stood outside in a navy dress, clutching the small envelope that held my RSVP card. I hadn't replied, but I came anyway. Inside, the sanctuary was glowing with light and white roses. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. And there she was. Isabel. Dressed in lace, laughing with bridesmaids. She looked radiant. And terrified. She saw me. Time slowed. She walked over. Her voice shook. I didn't think you'd come. Neither did I whispered. For a long moment, we just stood there. Then she said, eyes wet, I'm sorry. I thought the apology would bring satisfaction. It didn't. It just opened a dam inside me. You could have told me, I said. You could have faced me. I was ashamed, she said. And scared. We stood in the silence of that honesty. Do you love him? I asked. She nodded. With all my heart. But I never stopped loving you either. You're my sister. My throat tightened. She looked so small in that moment, despite the dress, despite the day. And something in me softened. Then be good to each other, I said. Both of you. I turned to go. But Isabel caught my hand. Stay. Please. And against every part of my past, I did. Not for James. Not even for her. For me, the ceremony was beautiful. I watched from the back pew, heart steady but full of echoes. When James saw me as he walked down the aisle, he paused for a half-second. Our eyes met. There was no malice. Just acknowledgement. And maybe regret. I stayed seated during the vows. I didn't flinch when he said, I do. I even smiled when Isabel whispered hers through a wave of emotion. At the reception, I lingered near the edge of the crowd, sipping ginger ale. I hadn't planned on staying. Certainly not long enough for speeches. But then the DJ tapped the mic, now a few words from the bride's sister. Laughter. Confusion. All eyes turned. My name echoed over the speakers. I froze. Isabel, beaming through tears, nodded at me from the head table. Please, she mouthed. I don't know how I walked up there. But somehow, I did. The microphone felt cold in my hand. I looked at Isabel. Then James. Then the crowd. My name is Rachel, I began. And this isn't the speech anyone expected. Least of all me. Nervous laughter. 5 years ago, I was supposed to be standing where Isabel is today. But life, as it turns out, had a different plan. A few whispers. Some nods. I lost a fiancé. I lost a sister. But somewhere in that loss, I found something else, resilience. Strength. And eventually, forgiveness. I turned to them directly. Today, I don't see betrayal anymore. I see two people who found love, however complicated. And I see a sister who had the courage to ask me to be part of her day. I raised my glass. To James and Isabel. May your future be honest, kind, and full of everything that makes love worth the risk. The room burst into applause. I stepped down before the tears could fall. But in that moment, something lifted. The next morning, I walked through the park where James had once proposed. The bench was still there. The oak tree behind it still twisted into a canopy that looked like it guarded the sky. I sat down. It didn't hurt anymore. My phone buzzed. A message from Isabel. Thank you. For everything. Can we start over? As sisters? I typed back. Let's try. One coffee at a time. As I walked home, I realized something. Forgiveness isn't about erasing pain. It's about making peace with it. Giving it a home inside you so it doesn't own you. That day, I let go of who I thought I should have been. I embraced who I had become. Not Rachel, the abandoned bride. Rachel, the woman who stood in grace. Sometimes, the people we trust the most will break our hearts. But healing doesn't come from vengeance, it comes from understanding. From choosing to rebuild, even when it's hard. Because forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the loudest form of strength. And love, in any form, is always worth the courage it takes to stay kind.